All right, good morning, everybody. It is Friday. We're headed into the Alabama weekend, halfway through May. How about that? It's going to be warm and muggy today, and really all weekend. We have storms that are on the way. They won't be part of our Friday forecast anywhere in the state. And we got some conditional rain chances here moving forward. We're going to walk you through all of it, when our best chances of rain are. There's graduations taking place outdoors this weekend, so we got to know where we're going to have the rain. It looks like the best coverage day offhand will be on Sunday. So let's get right into it here. Big picture, the synoptic view. See that big front extending from a low that's like an Alberta clipper. It's following kind of the Canadian border there, with a front extending from the Great Lakes all the way down to the southern plains. This is going to be the source for thunderstorms, and severe thunderstorms at that, in the middle of the country today. We remain just to the northwest of a surface high. You can actually see it depicted right around here, just off the Florida's east coast here in the peninsula, and that has given us prolonged southerly winds. So if you're wondering why we're so warm, that is why. Several days of temperatures in the 80s, morning lows now in the 70s, is because we've had good southerly flow. There's a tropical air mass over the Gulf, and we're essentially taking that and advecting it north into the southeast. So you'll feel it today wherever you are in the state. It is very muggy, the air you can wear. I'm recording this at about 9 a.m. just before then, and we've already got mid to upper 70s, and it's been overcast for a lot of locations. And this is the reasoning for that sticky feel. When you get to a dew point temperature of 70, it's muggy. We've got dew points in the mid 70s. That's a sultry atmosphere, and one that's much more common as we get into the summertime. So let's start from the upper atmosphere first. Here's the setup. This is later today. You can see that upper air ridge in place over the Gulf. Once again, we'll be in close proximity to that jet stream, and those lower height values is where you're going to see those thunderstorms. So basically right there where the jet stream is planted, that's where our turbulent weather will be here today. Saturday afternoon, the ridge flattens, and what we'll see is these little shortwave perturbations. And you'll notice if you look at the wind lines there, you see these little kinks that follow. Those are little short waves. They develop within the top of the ridge, within the upper atmosphere, and those little kinks can give us convection, can give us clusters of thunderstorms, and that'll be the biggest threat over the weekend as the organized severe weather stays to the north. This is Sunday afternoon, ridge trying to rebuild in the middle of the country, and then shifting in our direction by Monday. So again, Monday we could be back in that ridging setup where the rain primarily stays north, and I think Tuesday that'll be the case as well. Likely seeing the rain and thunderstorms staying northwest of Alabama for Tuesday afternoon before some cooler air swings in here. So let's go to the now. And there's the cooler air. So I forgot I had to play it out till Wednesday. So this is at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, and man, we're going to be pretty close to a cooler air mass. And with that jet stream dipping far south, that'll be our next good coverage day during the week. Spotty, if anything, on Monday and Tuesday. Better rain chances come with this trough swinging into the Ohio Valley and down into the Tennessee Valley by Wednesday. So again, today's immediate threat, severe weather, is going to be across this little bullseye there in Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, northern Tennessee, and there's the chance for some tornadoes through that. Now, this outlook actually goes through about 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, which is why you're seeing the outline. So to be clear, there's no threat of rain in Alabama today, but the way these outlooks are timed, we fall under that category of their day one, which will be very early Saturday morning. Here's an Alabama view of it. A slight risk for the northern quarter of the state, the Shoals, Huntsville market. Marginal risk, and you notice how narrow that band is. We should see a pretty rapid weakening of these thunderstorms during the overnight. So timing purposes here, above that line is till 7 a.m. South of that line is beyond 7 a.m. Now, there is a marginal risk that exists potentially later in the day, but I have a feeling the going setup is going to keep us dry, actually, on Saturday afternoon. So let's go to some modeling here. I want to start with our futurecast. This is Friday at 7 o'clock. We'll fix that view there. And we're looking at a higher resolution model. So what you have there is that line of thunderstorms. So guess what? The initiation is this frontal boundary. And you're going to see this on here depicted, if I can get it to show up. So you see that front back to the west. That is going to be the source point for severe weather. And that's why it's an extra lifting mechanism. When you add a a front or another form of lift, you have additional, we call it forcing. So not only do you have rising air with the warm temperatures at the surface, but now you've got a cold front that is also supplying vertical lift. And that is why we will see stronger thunderstorms to the northwest later on tonight. So this is at 7 p.m. I'm going to move this forward and zoom in to about midnight. So now what's happening is you've got the line of thunderstorms that initially formed along the cold front. They're outrunning that forcing, meaning they're getting away from the source of really good uplift, and getting into an area that is relatively not dynamic. We don't have a whole lot of forcing. We do have some instability, but it'll be falling throughout the night. Of course, our instability a lot of times comes from the fact that our air is cooler aloft than the surface. Well, what happens at night? Our temperature at the surface cools, and there's not as big of a difference between your surface temperature and your winds aloft, and that is a kind of how you measure instability. So with temperatures cooling throughout the atmospheric profile, these storms should weaken. With that said, around 3 o'clock, we should see a good line of thunderstorms. It may be a loud night, and any one of these could have some gusty winds and some hail. There's not a tornado threat with this, because again, the wind dynamics are not here with this. They're well back to the north and west, but some hailers, lots of lightning, and should be a pretty quick moving line. I tend to think that a lot of folks will be done with this by 7 a.m. along I-20, and then this weakening line of thunderstorms starts to shift further south. So Montgomery by around 10 o'clock, and then look what happens. It's done. So now what's the question? Well, see how that was an all-encompassing rain down to Montgomery? That's working over the atmosphere. If we have this solution, which I lean towards, this will take a lot of the energy out of the atmosphere, and it's going to be tough to rebound in a span of 8 hours to get additional convective or pop-up thunderstorms, and that's why I lean towards Saturday afternoon being dry. This model kind of verifies that. If you're south of Montgomery and haven't had the rain, there might be some isolated thunderstorms in the afternoon. So let's hop on into Saturday night and into Sunday. That line of thunderstorms that move through is going to create a stationary boundary, and with that, now we've got a source point for rain on Sunday, and Sunday's going to be our best coverage day. Few showers possible in the morning. That rain chance builds throughout the day. With this extra boundary in place, that's just like I talked about the front to the north and west. It's going to add a little bit of extra forcing. Now, there's no wind dynamics with this, so I don't expect there to be much in the way of severe, but this could be a decent coverage day from 11 o'clock in the morning to about 7 p.m. So if you have outdoor plans Sunday, I think this is going to be the day to watch for good rain coverage with this in place, and this will probably yield the highest totals for the weekend in many spots. I mentioned that we trend drier on Monday once this front shifts a little bit further to the north and that ridge builds back in the upper levels. That should drop our rain chances Monday and Tuesday. Speaking of rain, here's a look at the totals, and this makes sense, with that line coming through the Shoals area later on tonight. Our highest rain totals for the state over the next 7 days are to the north, and you see that gradually decrease. The wiregrass, folks from Monroeville, Andalusia, Evergreen, over to Troy and Dothan, rain chances will be more isolated. There's just not going to be great coverage with what comes through there. But of course, it's something that we will watch indeed as we get closer. But I think our better rain chances and totals are going to be in the northern half of the state. So this afternoon, summer-like. Got 90s to the south. We had several areas reach 90 yesterday. Clouds increasing, especially in northern Alabama late, but no threat of rain for your afternoon forecast. Thunderstorms, as we showed you, move through north of I-20 during the overnight hours, south of I-20 after 7 a.m., and it'll be sultry. Almost everywhere in the state is in the 70s. Then we look at our Saturday forecast, and we'll have those morning thunderstorms that we showed you, but the rest of the day could very well be dry, especially north of US 80. And our best bet, I think, of seeing convective activity, if that line makes it as far south as it's showing, is going to be in the southern third of Alabama. So we've been talking a lot about warm temperatures. How about this outlook? This is close to Memorial Day, or actually close to the end of May. What we're going to see is a pattern flip, and this is going to happen late next week. So Thursday, Friday, we could see troughing over the eastern U.S. That would mean lows could dip into the 50s, I-20 and north, highs in the 70s, some drier air. That's the big thing, is drier air. And this will be something to watch indeed, because we've started out May with more of a ridging pattern, some warmer temperatures, and this looks to kind of flip it moving forward. It's that time of year, too. Can't leave out the beach forecast. Let's talk about it. This is for all of our Gulf Coast locations from Dolphin Island to Mexico Beach. We should be, for the most part, rain-free. I mentioned that threat of rain on Sunday, maybe more clouds around, but there is no concrete threat of rain as we head through into the weekend and even early next week. So that'll pretty much do it for our Friday morning edition here. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll update you as needed. Be safe, have fun, and congratulations to those kids graduating, a big deal, and hopefully we'll hold the rain off for you. Have a great day.